Okay, well, on.
Okay, and welcome to Mythical Monster Investigations, where we're going to be having a very special episode. Normally, in this, we take a look at monsters and we try to go through their history and we give a plausible explanation to how their legend came about. We try to find the grain of truth in the myth, which basically is shown that I myself, especially, and my co hosts, we like mysteries and we kind of like to solve them. So I thought it would be fun to do this very special episode where we're actually going to take a look at four historical facts that are 100% true, but don't really have a clear cut explanation. In short, historical mysteries that I've not really been able to solve. Now, my co hosts have never seen this, so perhaps they will be able to succeed where I failed. But regardless, I thought we'd have fun actually looking at these actual unsolved mysteries. And so, for this, for everyone watching, join me. I'm your host, Archimage, along with my co host.
Shadow all Fox, and I did not do it. Just because I'm black doesn't mean I did it. I'm just putting that out there first.
There's no murder in this.
It was something stolen,
No,
vandalized,
no,
destroyed.
no.
Hi, I'm Zed.
Okay, just
Okay, it's not that.
I'm just putting
Moving
it out
on.
there. I'm not gonna self-incriminate myself.
Like, all right, literally, you'd have to be like over centuries old to have committed any of these.
You're not helping my argument about me not doing this.
I was about to say, how do you know he's not a Time Lord?
Because if he was a Time Lord, he would have abused that power by now to no ends.
Maybe I already did. You don't.
Maybe he already did. Did you ever think of that?
Realize.
No, he did not, because he doesn't have his own personal harem or mountain of gold that he's swimming in.
That you know of. It's like as I turn my computer
There is
around,
no
it's just like
way.
a giant gold.
You would never hide that.
Oh, I'm seriously regretting not having ChatGPT Pro to quickly make me a harem of with golden coins in the background with my characters.
And instead, Chat GPT makes you a harem of gold with a bunch of with you swimming around like a pit of women or something.
That still can work. I think that would be a win.
I didn't say it wouldn't be a win. Okay, now that we've gotten thoroughly off topic, let's get back to it. So come and join us for this very special edition of Unsolved Mysteries Mythical Monster Investigations. Go ahead and switch slides. So, our first story of the four we're going to look at actually begins with dinosaurs. Now, as most people know, and most people should know, millions of years ago, dinosaurs roamed the earth. We had the Jurassic period, the Cretaceous period, and Triassic period, where great hulking land animals stomped across the world before the days of humans and before most mammals. They were the dominant species until a cataclysmic event took them out, which is still debated about to this day. They were around millions of years ago and they have long since died out, leaving only fossils. Or that's what we were told. Go ahead and switch slides. Shadow Alpha? Yeah. So this is where our news story begins, which happened roughly in March of 2005, where Mary Schweitzer, who is a molecular paleontologist, and I want to point out she's not a charlatan. She is a credentialed paleontologist. She is in no way discredited in any way. She was on a search, and in Montana, actually, she discovered 68 million year old soft tissue from the bones of an adolescent Tyrannosaurus rex. Now, this is preserved soft tissue. This is soft, flexible, transparent, blood vessels, everything. Literally from a dinosaur. So we have found soft tissue from dinosaur in bones. Now, again, I want to point out this is not a hoax. This stuff has been looked at. It has been analyzed by labs. This is not like there have been events where people have said they found hobbits or found fairies or miniature people, like bodies of them, and then the bodies mysteriously disappeared before they could be properly tested. No, the test results exist. They still have them today. And furthermore, they have actually found more soft tissue from other dinosaurs, including the duck-billed dinosaur. And the question is, how exactly is this possible? As
I think
soft
the
tissue
better
should
question
degrade.
is
Go
this
ahead.
about to be Jurassic Park?
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. That's why I didn't let you see this beforehand, because I'd have a whole bunch of Jurassic Park references in my slides.
Dun 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 dun.
That's why I got out ahead of this, because I knew what you would do.
What I also
I like how
hear
you think
is
that's gonna save you.
It made it a little less bad. It
what I
didn't
also
have
hear
prep
is
time.
there's a possibility I could get Godzilla somehow out of the future of this.
Okay, I'm going to. I will mention that in a second, but Zed, I want to give a counter argument to that. When you're facing Batman, it's better to face Batman before prep time. Granted, you're still facing Batman, and that's bad, but it's worse to face Batman with prep time.
Well, yeah, I'll agree to that, but
There you go. Now you understand my logic. I took away Batman's prep time.
not that well.
Not that well, but it was the best I had, okay?
We're getting
And
so
to your
close to a
point-
Godzilla future.
Okay, no, you cannot. As far as I know, they're not trying to clone a T-Rex.
That we know of.
I said that we
We're
know
gonna
of.
wake up one morning and we're gonna find raptors and T-Rex going down the freeway.
No, but okay, so this sent absolute. This was an absolutely very controversial event that happened to the paleontological world, because this does defy logic and explanation. Even in the best preserved conditions, soft tissue surviving for millions of years should be impossible, as honestly it should degrade in less than 1 billion years. And fossils themselves are minerals within bones. So how exactly is this possible? That's the big question.
Well, what state
So-
does he find them in? Like, what I know he found them in the ground, but like, was they frozen? Were they like covered in
No,
amber?
they were not frozen. They're not
was-
frozen, not in amber, no.
were they in any way like a geological type frozen, where like the whatever geological event happened to cover?
They were inside the bones of the young adolescent T-Rex.
Like the tissue was.
Yes.
So essentially, they pulled out bone marrow.
Essentially, yes.
But the bones were perfectly preserved.
Yes.
What geological layer, like was it metamorphic, igneous,
That I'm
sedimentary?
not
Um,
entirely sure, but I do know it was some of the best preservation for fossils.
Because I do know from what I remember of geology, I know there are ways that that a geographical event can happen to cause it to cover the carcass of the whatever dinosaur or animal it is fast enough and rapidly enough, and it can compress it so much that not enough air can get in to degrade it, that it can keep those types of samples alive for a very long time, or in pristine conditions, I should say. Not alive, but in pristine condition.
Okay, yes, but for millions of years should be impossible. Now I said should because obviously it happened. So now that's interesting, because I will give, like I said, there's with some of these, we're going to have all of these don't have conclusive explanations, but two of these do have. There are some explanations for each of these, but they're not conclusive, and some of them are just bizarre. Now, this one, because it did send such a shock throughout the paleontological world and really got the people who believe mankind was with dinosaurs, they really went nuts with this revelation, but we're going to leave that alone. There is an explanation for this. Go ahead and switch slides. So essentially the explanation, or I should say the best explanation that could be given, is iron. So basically, iron is present in the body and the blood, but it's while we're alive, it's bound to the molecules to prevent damage to our bodies. However, after death, as the theory goes, it's released in minuscule forms of iron nanoparticles. And basically, this generates free radicals, and through a chemical process, it basically creates a form of formaldehyde. And formaldehyde, of course, preserves tissue, which in a way is how they're explaining how this tissue inside the bone survived. That basically because the iron rich blood of dinosaurs was able to release, and that's what preserved the soft tissue. Now, they have tested this theory with some ostrich cells, and it does seem to have worked with the ostrich cells keeping alive for 2 years in very overly favorable conditions and not in the ground. But it is the best explanation they've got. There are a lot of questions to this. Basically, if this is so, why don't we find more soft tissue and various other things? But this is the closest thing to an explanation they have. But regardless, they're not exactly sure how soft dinosaur tissue still exists literally millions of years after they died off.
I'm just gonna say Godzilla.
Okay, would you stop trying to create Godzilla?
Gunzillasaurus was alive millions of years after it should have been dead. This is how we
Okay.
start. We get a little radiation. This was Montana, right? We need to do some nuclear testing there. Immediately.
You really want to raise an American god? What am I talking about? That's like your dream.
Yes.
You've asked Santa Claus for that every year since you were
yes.
5.
Oh, yes.
Zed, what do you think
What do you want me to say?
about the dinosaur thing?
No, I know what you meant.
Not about Shadow or Fox trying to create Godzilla.
Personally, I think the formaldehyde thing is the most likely.
No, it's not a horrible explanation. It's
No. It's the most
I
logical
can,
one that I can think of that I've
But
heard recently,
do
aside from
formaldehyde
Godzilla.
preserve things for millions of years? Can it even preserve something for that long?
Well, like I said, they tested this in a lab and they were able to preserve some ostrich cells for about 2 years. Well, we haven't tested this for millions of years. That's the problem. If you're going to run a test, you literally need to run it for millions of years, and we don't have a machine to speed up time in a secluded area. Doctor Who physics doesn't exist quite yet.
Again, my biggest question is the geographical area that it was found in. I think would yield the best results of what preserved it for that long.
Yeah, no, they have looked into it. Apparently, it was highly favorable, but not that favorable.
And see, I'm not even referring to that. I'm referring to they probably just look at the immediate area. They would need to do a whole geographical survey of the entire surrounding area and track each layer's history, each geographical layer's history for the next several million years, around that whole time period to see what led on. Because it's very possible that even the soil that they immediately found it in wasn't the original soil, and it could have been a completely different geographical setting that allowed it to be preserved in such a pristine way, but over the years it got moved and eroded, and by the time C found it, it was in a setting that, while still favorable, wasn't the same condition that led to the pristine condition that we see now.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps another thing is that it could have even maybe been preserved in ice for a long bloody time, and then melted down and got trapped underneath until the ice melted, which could theoretically have preserved it as well, along with the soil conditions that you said. That's the thing, it could be a combination of various things.
The only reason I don't think ice is because, if I recall, when ice is used to for fossils, when it starts to melt, it usually, if I recall, put certain markings and holes on the actual fossil.
Yeah, ice also tends to, especially with liquids and soft tissue, tends to crystallize and damage them. That's the
Yes.
marking we're talking about. Now, it doesn't always do this, but it normally does this, which is why cryogenic freezing is a complete sham. Yes, to all of you out there who think we can cryogenically freeze things, the reason we don't do it is because your blood tends to crystallize instead of freezing in extreme cold, which damages your body. So all of you who have done that, you basically have a cold corpse.
It could have been a series of permafrost where the soil is frozen, but not the actual thing. But the soil is acting as an incubator. So essentially, it's being kept in a fridge. Kind of like how some people, I can't remember, but some coaches go and essentially bury their food.
Yeah.
It could be something like that going on.
I mean, it's not impossible, and permafrost can melt. So it guess it just depends. Like, that's the thing. We're talking about millions of years. The Earth was moving around. I mean, what this dinosaur this T-Rex that started in Montana, for all we know, was originally in China, and its body parts moved over for some time. So,
That's the other
like,
thing. Was
we
it native
don't.
to that
Yeah,
area?
no. Well, we don't really know. Well, they have theories about where dinosaurs are native of, but remember, this is all based on where they found their fossils. And literally, their fossils have been moving around the Earth for millions of years, where the world used to be one giant supercontinent at one time. So that's the thing. Like that, again, this is unsolved mysteries. We don't know.
And they dated how old the fossil and the tissues was.
Yes, that's why there's so much controversy. Like I said, all of this is not a hoax in any way. This is legitimate T-Rex, adolescent T-Rex soft tissue. For our lack of a better word, viable dino DNA.
Did they test when
For
it died?
Jurassic Park. Huh?
Did they test when it died?
As far as I know, they ran every test imaginable on this.
Because what if it died last Tuesday or something like that?
Well, no, they're pretty sure it didn't die last Tuesday,
but they're not positive.
No, they're not positive, but they also know this was an adolescent dinosaur. And to be fair, the soft tissue was found inside its bone fossils. So unless you had some very weird shenanigans where, a dinosaur got hurt by being stabbed with the fossilized bones of another and somehow its tissue seeped into it, I doubt it died last Tuesday. Plus that this happened in 2005.
Aliens?
Why would it be aliens?
Just
because why wouldn't
us?
it be?
Yeah, just to screw with us.
Okay, no, but that's the mystery, and until they come up with a better explanation, I guess beware. I guess the iron in your blood can preserve you for quite some time, which is interesting because I do know that iron around food doesn't help it stay preserved.
I mean, by that logic, you can you already got the resources to test. Just go to any funeral home, any grave site, dig up a body that's been there for a couple of hundreds of years, and look at the bone and see if the same thing occurred.
Yeah, it doesn't.
So there we go. We know that it can't just be the iron.
Yeah, and okay, so that's another thing. Some bodies have been seen that are overly juicier than they should be, but there are various So the biggest thing with decay is moisture.
Yeah.
Like drier climates preserve bodies a lot better. That's why we find more stuff in the desert.
Yes.
The drier an atmosphere is, the more likely soft tissue is to be preserved. So that's something. But again, the problem is the time. Millions of years.
Again, compare it to one of these mummies, since the mummies are in the best conditions. Do they have the same preservation status?
Yeah, and I will say Montana does have a dry climate with low relative humidity. So it is noticeably dry year round. So again, it has good conditions for preserving this kind of tissue. But it just, again, this is one of those that has people scratching their heads. It is strange. But yeah, so That's our first mystery.
How come we haven't seen it? I'm just saying, where's Jurassic Park?
Okay, Shadow R Fox. They're
When
not
when
actually
did
gonna.
this? When did we find this?
2005.
And we didn't make like 100 Jurassic Park movie in that year.
No, we did not make a actual T-Rex.
Does this even make front page news? Hey, we found T-Rex DNA. Jurassic Park's about to happen.
No, it didn't make front page news.
Look, I'm just throwing this out there, Archimage. They talked about cloning mammoth meat just so we can taste what a mammoth tastes like. You're
Again,
expecting me to believe they found bone marrow, T-Rex bone marrow, and they're not thinking let's clone it and make an army of T-Rexes so we can use for the military.
Okay, first of all, you're making it very clear why I didn't tell you about this beforehand. Second of all, is there was a lot of controversy about this because this was impossible. So they were testing it and trying to prove it was fake. They spent years trying to prove it was fake, only to prove that no, this is definitely real. Because, like I said, the scientist, she is an accredited scientist. She is not a charlatan. She isn't going out for being famous or anything. Like, she doubted it herself, but this is one where we actually have the test results. We have the soft tissue. It didn't mysteriously disappear. We have all this. This is 100% real.
And the fastest way to prove it's not fake is to clone it and see what comes out. If it's a T-Rex, you know it's not fake.
Okay, that's not even how cloning works. You do know cloning needs a healthy ovum to put the actual clone in. So we need another dinosaur in order to clone a dinosaur.
Komodo dragon, crocodile, alligator, turtle.
They're not dinosaurs.
We can make it work. Frogs.
We really can't. They're different species.
We can find something that was alive back then and just make it work.
Well,
Life finds a way.
Crocodiles were alive back then, but they're not dinosaurs.
Well, not that we know of. Chicken. You know what? We gotta get chicken, and then we can make this work. It's gonna be a small T-Rex initially, but we can like steroid it and grow it up and make it bigger.
Okay, despite what the evolutionists say, chickens are not closely enough related to dinosaurs to do that.
I don't think we ever try hard enough.
We can't try hard enough. They have different DNA.
I mean, it didn't stop the Soviets from trying to make a hybrid version of ape people, so...
It didn't stop them, but they never succeeded.
Nope, but we can try to.
That is not how genetics works.
Not with that attitude.
Stop trying to make Godzilla.
That's gonna happen. If for any other reason, I can be the reason we bring back cavalry to the U.S. and there'll be dinosaur cavalry.
Okay, we don't even know if Tyrannosauruses would be able to be trained.
That won't stop us from trying.
Okay. If your logic, if we could have done it, don't you think we would have by now?
I think we did. We just hiding it.
How are we hiding a T-Rex?
Considering how many other
very,
things
very
we hide.
carefully.
Yeah, considering how many other things we hide.
Yeah, we're all bad at hiding things. They couldn't keep Area 51 for a secret for less than 20 years.
That's still a long time.
In the scope of things, not really.
For a regular human life, yes, 20 years is a pretty long time to keep something a secret.
It was barely 20 years.
How many weapons do we have that probably nobody even know about, that the general public don't even have even an idea about yet?
Probably, but the general public's not really looking. And also, they're not alive.
I'm just saying.
They're not. Okay, again, this is all moot because that's not how genetics works.
I mean, they held Osama bin Laden for a long time.
Okay, so that's the first mystery. Besides the Godzilla cloning, Zed, what do you think?
I think we need to not leave Shadow R Fox alone in the genetics lab, is what I think.
Well, we knew that.
Did we?
Yes. Would
Okay,
you have
fair.
done it? Would you have left him alone in a genetics lab?
Before today, maybe.
Well, that's a fault on you. You should know better.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay. So go ahead and switch sides. We're going on to a more mundane one, but still a mystery. You all might have heard about this. This is called the Baghdad Battery. Well, out of curiosity, either you two heard of this?
Yes.
I have not. Oh wait,
Okay.
maybe I have.
Well, okay. So basically, this is a artifact that dates back roughly from 250 BC or 225 AD. It's an ancient artifact that consists of a ceramic jar, a copper tube, and an iron rod held together by asphalt. It's roughly 5.5 inches tall, and when it's filled with an acidic liquid, it produces about 1 volt of electricity. Problem now, the mystery is not how this thing works. We know perfectly well how it works. The mystery is, what the heck was this thing used for? There's no written records of what it was used for. We do not understand its purpose at all. We don't know what it was for, which a lot of the ancient alien people love to use this as, see, that people had electricity back then. This thing was discovered in 1936 in Baghdad, Iraq, hence the Baghdad Battery. Now, the first true electric battery will not be invented until the 1800s by the Italian physicist Alessandro Volta, most famously known for the volt measurement. And this was known as the voltaic pile, stacks which eventually would become batteries. And the question is, what the heck did they use this for? Now, to be fair, again, this produces 1 volt of electricity. So it's very unlikely that they were running anything off of it, unless you guys can think of something that runs off 1 volt of electricity. Anything?
Will you even feel 1 volt of electricity shocking you? Would that even register as static at that point?
I mean,
Because isn't 1 volt like really so small that we wouldn't even feel the shock of it, essentially?
I don't. Well, it does depend on current, but this is clearly DC. I don't actually think you would, to be honest.
Because
I mean,
I don't remember what like how much voltage is a static shock.
I'm trying to remember.
Let me actually look that up.
Okay, so you can no, you can feel it. It's just not that much. And there's also a question about voltage and current, so that's where things get a little fuzzy, because current is more dangerous than voltage, and that's more of the shock you're feeling. So that's where this is a little ambiguous, sorry. And honestly, like, static electricity is like more than you think.
Okay, so
Because static electricity is like over 3,000 volts. But you see, it's a current thing.
most of the time it says 5 volt. But it's a one touching a 1.5 volt AA battery with dry fingers may be enough to make you feel something. So
Yeah. But again, it's kind of the current more so, because remember, one of Nikola Tesla's big tricks was sitting inside, his Tesla coil, shooting various amounts of electric arcs. But you see, it was high voltage and not and low current, which made it less
well,
harmful. So, and the Baghdad battery only produces a couple of milliamps of power. You
that's
see,
my
the current is
problem
the bigger thing.
with because they only found out it produced power when they put acidic liquid in it. Did they
Correct.
find it with acidic liquid in it, or did they put that
I
in by
think they
accident?
no, they found traces of acidic liquid.
Because it's
I
very
believe.
possible that the acidic liquid could have came from something else, and it wasn't even acidic at the time. It was probably like something like benign almost, and it became acidic over time. Because I'm
But
trying to figure out why they thought it was filled
sorry.
with acidic liquid.
Okay, so yeah, I wanted to. Sorry, I was looking this up because I just wanted to double check that I wasn't misrepresenting this. But yeah, so scientists did not find acidic liquid in the Baghdad jar itself, in the Baghdad battery itself, but they found significant signs of chemical and physical corrosion from this type, from these kind of acidic agents, such as vinegar, fermented grape juice, things like that. So it shows clear signs of acidic wear and tear.
Well, they just said they were making wine. We just found an age-old freaking brewery.
Why would they make a wine? This is not how you make wine, Shadow R Fox.
No, but people back then would be stupid enough to try anything to see if they could find a new way to make alcohol.
Not in 250 BC.
People been making alcohol for a long time. They would have been.
I doubt highly. Besides that, okay,
I'm gonna
also,
just
I wanna
bring this
point
up
out-
right here. Do you know what mead is?
Yes, I know what mead is. I don't know how it's made, but I know what mead is.
Well, essentially, it's fermented honey. It's
Yeah.
fermented honey water, essentially.
Yes.
And maybe and maybe even some fermented fruits as well, depending on it. How do you think they first thought, well, this, you know what, we can make alcohol out of this? They would have had to went up to who left the lid off the honey jar? Who left water dripping in the honey jar for the last several months? This smells funny. I'm gonna taste it. Tastes kind of good. You think they would be experimenting? Go, I wonder if I stick some grape juice into a ceramic jar. I take a copper tube and stick it in it, and then an iron rod and put that in it as well, and hold it together with asphalt. I wonder if it's gonna make the wine taste better.
Okay, let's say that scenario took place. First of all, no, it would not.
Well,
Second of all,
that's how they would
wait,
learn.
wait.
They learned it
If
through
they tried
experiment.
it, if they tried it, do you really think they'd try it 12 or 13 times? Because they found
Yes,
about 13 of these artifacts.
in the same place.
I believe so.
Yes.
And yes, actually, I
Yeah,
would believe that.
you actually are proving my point at this.
You actually are.
Because, well, no, and what I'm getting at is, okay, this is where I'm gonna throw in some anime, just because it's gonna make sense in the reference of things. I don't think any of you've seen Freerun.
No.
Fantasy story about an elf, classic story of the hero party go out, kill the demon lord, and yada yada yada. But one of the points that I want to bring up is something that take place long before the anime take place, which is since one of the characters is an elf, they live forever essentially, and they're talking to another elf, and the other elf basically has nothing to do, so she basically decide, let me start a legend that this alcohol is the rarest and best alcohol of all time, when really it's the worst and it's the most common. But in 1,000 years, who's gonna know the difference? I think we just stumbled upon some dumbass basement, and he was experimenting with probably trying to make different types of alcohol, and we're taking it for something grander than what it actually is, which is just probably some guy's stupid science experiment that he's been screwing up on. Nothing like he's making a car battery, more like he's just trying to figure out a new way to get high or drunk.
Okay, I want to point out I can't 100% discount that because again, nobody knows what these were used for.
God, dude, those
But I
alcohol.
will say, while they were found in the same area, I mean the same region. They were not found all in the same house or the same town.
Okay.
Some were found in Kuwait, others were found in a neighboring town. Though I will also have to admit these were initially found in the 1930s by Germans, and unfortunately, the records about where exactly they found them are a little askew because, well, Germans in the 1930s. Yeah, I shouldn't need to say more than that.
I don't think they. again, the fact that they're just found in random places, that make me think that they just was setting. I can't help but think they were trying to use it to either get high or get drunk off of.
Okay. Again, this would be bad for both. And at the time, Baghdad knew how to make wine.
Well, yes, everyone knew how to make it, but that wouldn't stop for other people from trying to find better ways to make it or experimenting with it.
Yes, but this is literally the worst way you could do it.
I'm just
That
curious.
doesn't matter. That
Did
doesn't mean someone wouldn't try it.
I'm curious. Did Baghdad actually make their wine in ceramic jars?
I don't know, but they okay, so oddly enough, I've looked this up. Apparently, you're not the first person who questioned whether or not this was something to do with wine, which bothers me. But no, they have shown that there's no good testing that any of the liquids that were put in ever were associated with wine.
Yeah, because
Were they
kept
associated
screwing
with
up
other
with it.
alcohols?
Not alcohols, with acidic liquids.
That does not answer the question.
No, not alcohol.
Because they could have been trying to make alcohol through other means.
This is the worst way to do it.
That doesn't matter. It's still
does
a thing
matter.
someone could have tried.
It does matter because alcohol at this time was very well known how to make. And this is in no way.
They
you
would
don't
have used
put
ceramic
copper and
jugs
iron
to hold wine in.
Okay, I'd like to point
Yes,
out there
that
are
is
people who
true.
figured out how to make wine in prison. That's also a bad way to make it, yet they still do it.
Yes, but it doesn't involve electrical potential.
So I'm just gonna also throw this out there. They found ways to get high off of fecal matters.
I'm
who,
well
who,
aware.
Who would just sit there thinking they pass gas? You know, I bet I could get high off of this. Idiots like this. And I think we found one of those idiots. I wonder if I shove a copper tube into a jar. I wonder if I leave it around in random places, if things aren't going to happen.
Okay, I also want to point out this is a time period where copper was actually fairly valuable, and shaping this was not easy.
Well, it's a rod.
So it's a
right?
rich idiot.
That's even more proof. We found the first eccentric
It's not
billionaire.
it's not a rich idiot. And again, they wouldn't make 12 or 13 of these things.
I
And
mean,
again, that's just the ones we found. So there's a chance there were more. And plus that, they're 5.5 inches tall. They're 5.5 inches tall.
so they're not even a foot.
And?
Exactly.
So they were doing small scale experimentation.
Yeah.
No, so essentially you're claiming that they were doing shots. If they're gonna do wine, they do
That's
more than
actually
that.
more believable now.
That is more believable.
How is that more believable?
Because now I don't
They
think they
wanted
were
to get
getting
drunk faster, so of course they would make shots.
They were either
That would
trying to
not
make a
get you
higher
drunk
yield
faster.
alcohol.
Yes, it
or
does.
They were trying to make something that they could get high off of. So like some type of gas or something. You know what? Now that I look at that, so it just had iron rod going down the middle and then a copper going the middle down the iron,
Yes.
essentially. And then asphalt to seal it at the top.
Yes.
Was the wait, a copper tube that was hollow?
Yes.
Oh shit, they were getting high. Oh, it's true. My bad. I didn't know that it was a tube. I thought it was a cylinder. Okay, yeah, they're getting high. They were putting gas. They were making some type of gas that they were inhaling to get high off of. This isn't a mystery. We just found the
we
age-old
found the-
Jinka machine.
We found the original hookah as well.
Yes, of course.
Okay. First of all, a tube is a cylinder. It's a hollowed out cylinder, but it's still a cylinder.
I thought it was a solid cylinder.
Yeah, he's
initially.
not solid cylinder.
It is not solid. It is a hollowed out copper tube. And second of all, the hollowed out copper tube, as you can see in the picture, had a bottom. So it was sealed from it.
I mean, they probably still was too dumb to. I think they probably was trying to sniff something from there. Yeah, this sounds like they're trying to get high.
You literally can't sniff anything from this.
Okay, fine.
It is enclosed.
I think we just found the Baghdad air freshener.
It is with acidic liquids.
It probably smelled better than cow manure.
It probably smelled better than Baghdad normally did.
Yeah. So
First
I
of all, it
think
wouldn't
people
be
are trying.
cow manure. In fact, okay, I'm not getting into the types of manure.
Again, the reason I don't think this is a battery is because
It's probably
specifically
not a battery.
they made it less than a foot tall. By this logic, if let's say for example they was making a battery, and in this case size would be better. It would be better to make this like 5 feet tall and fill it with acidic and do this because wouldn't that have a higher voltage yield at the end of
Yes.
things?
Yes.
Because of the massive size. So it would make no sense for them to make a small, less than a foot, not even a foot tall object that wouldn't even generate enough voltage, even if it was filled up with, let's say, whatever the most acidic thing possible that could actually cause a higher voltage. I don't think it would probably go above 5 voltage. Or am I wrong?
It wouldn't. No, it would not.
So it wouldn't even be enough to stimulate the body. So it wouldn't be enough to, let's say, oh, it's giving me type of visions, or I see God whenever I touch it type stuff. So if it couldn't even do that, it probably wouldn't even be able to power anything for more than a brief second.
That
And
is
even
correct.
then, it wouldn't be enough to. It would be no different than someone lighting a torch. It wouldn't be that monumental. So I think, yeah, I think it's for something completely different, and people are making out to be a battery.
Actually, yes, I would agree with you with that. And since we're going with that, go ahead and switch slides. Because leading archaeologists do not think it's a battery, which leads us to the theories, which oddly enough, none involve wine or getting high.
They're
So
just not imaginative.
Yeah, I mean they're not thinking hard enough because of my understanding of back then they used to get drunk and get high like the rest of the world.
anyway, the theories is that when filled with an electrolytic solution, such as vinegar or grape juice, yes, I know, the device acts as a galvanic cell and produces small electrical charges. Because of this, people thought it was used to electroplate gold and silver onto other metals. That, believe it or not, is a little more plausible, but pretty unlikely. Especially, why on earth would they think about electroplating? And I don't think we've actually found any evidence of electroplating, though I have not looked that up. Second, many mainstream archaeologists argue the resemblance to a battery is completely coincidental because copper and iron can be used as ritual tools, which is true. Both of them are sacred metals that have gone back to some of the earliest ages, especially in the Middle East. Copper was a very rare and valuable metal. In fact, it's theorized that King Solomon's mines, his famous mines, were actually in fact copper mines, not gold mines, as the legend goes. But we're not going to go into that. The pots might have been. They believe it could have been used to store sacred scrolls to keep them from rotting in the climate, or for holding various, holy liquids, not meant for drinking. Another idea is the battery produced very mild electric shocks, which was potentially used for an early type of electrical therapy
I think
for
that's
pain
pushing
relief.
it. Again, I think that's pushing it because we've already kind of deemed that in order to get that type of theatrical electrical shock, you need a higher voltage, which will require a larger version of these batteries.
Yes, but to be fair, like in certain you have to remember electricity is a weird thing. The conditions also determine how much of a voltage you feel. For instance, many voltages that can be harmless to you can become harmful if you're sweating. If you're sweating a lot, it gives more of a path for the current to go through, and that can actually cause electric shock that would normally be mild or normally not do you harm. Again, this is the thing about electricity. What matters is current more than voltage. It's current that's deadlier than voltage. So it's not completely infeasible, but no explanation has been great.
Here's the question: is there any written text referring to these things?
No.
Is there any these were found in some places, but not widely discovered. So it was isolated, I would imagine, just to the Baghdad region.
Yes.
Was there, since there was no text recording it, what type of structures did they find it in? Was these temples? Was these storage units? Was these houses?
Okay, that's where the data gets a little skewed because of the 1930s. Because of the German people who found it. That's where the data gets a little confused, but I believe they were found in caves, actually.
Hmm.
Yeah, I know, that doesn't help.
That's really odd to be found in caves and not.
Well, this whole thing is odd. But they were found in Kuwait, in a village, and that's about as much as people have on them. Again, that's the problem. The records are kind of
That-
askew.
That's the other thing, but they wasn't, essentially, they wasn't found widely scattered across the Baghdad region in the sense of um other towns in what would have been, I guess, what would have that region been called back then? Like, wherever Iraq would have been called all the way back then. I can't think of
Uh,
what that region would be. Who would
the
currently own that
Babylonian
region from
region?
Babylonian? I guess, yeah, from 250 BC to 225 AD. They didn't find it in other cities in Babylonian. Is what I'm getting at. They found this isolated to one location. Is what I'm getting at. One region. Is that true, or did they find this in other regions scattered about?
Like I said, well, another region they found. I said they found in Kuwait. They also found it in the city of Seleucia, which is on the Tigris River in Iraq, and it was actually a capital city. So they found some of them there.
Okay.
But again, it doesn't specify exactly where they found them because that's again where records are a little askew because of the Germans who found them, again in the 1930s. So I guess it's also possible that the Germans just made very clever fakes for some reason. Which is not entirely impossible, but is unlikely.
Because what I'm getting at is, if there's no like records of them, like, because Babylonians, they did write, oh, they did commit some things to actual record. If they were actually something a major noteworthy value or significant importance, we would have seen more evidence of them. Is what I'm getting at.
Yes. No, that is correct.
So clearly, this is some type of novelty or something very niche that isn't like of huge significant value. Otherwise, it would have been like in a grand temple or in a palace, or not in a cave, or not in wherever they found it in that city near the Tigris River.
Yes, that's correct.
Again, I think this is probably something super mundane, and people are making it far grander than what it is.
More than likely, it is, and not all of them are completely the same. Some of them had bronze rods instead of copper, and also there were others found in another city, and many of them had bronze wrappers that were badly decomposed, and even some cellulose fibers, which is plant fibers, were found, and others had nail or lead plates in them. So it's not the design is not completely uniform, which could mean that the metal was not as important as the look for some reason, or it could be some form of experimenting for something.
Okay, now I think I know what they are. This is stupid.
Okay.
We just found the equivalent of the Baghdad vibrator.
Okay. Really?
I think this legit is some
Uh,
type of like snake oil. It'll make you feel better. just
Okay,
hold on to
you
it,
couldn't have
or
gone with snake oil. Why did you have to go with vibrator?
because we were just earlier. I don't know if we caught this in the recording, but we were just no, we didn't. We were
No,
earlier
we
talking
did
about
not.
the Victorian vibrator and the origins of it, and I'm like, yeah, they didn't know what that did either, and they kept using it. This is
They
something similar.
they
They
knew
didn't know.
exactly what the vibrator did. Thank you very much.
I think this is something completely mundane, and the fact that there's other variant and it's not uniform and is inconsistent, which tell me some of the more inconsistent model would have been something poor people who didn't have the access to copper or iron would have tried to replicate in order to help themselves. I think this was some type of snake oil type heal, fix, remedy, charm, whatever have you. And for those who were rich, they got the iron and the copper to do it. For everyone else who were poor, they got whatever they could scrounge around to make it look like it.
Okay, well, I do think there is something in the class system based on it, but I think like it could have been probably used as more of a storage containment of some type, almost a type of preservative, because you can put things in vinegar and store them essentially. So like if you put some food like cucumbers or something in, you know, vinegar, it turns into pickles. So perhaps the iron rod pierced something and you put it immersed in the copper tube, because the copper tube is not sealed tight. So whatever liquid is in the vase will get into the copper tube. Uh, could essentially have that holding something and be a way of not fermenting, but instead trying to preserve it, which is why I couldn't completely refute your fermenting thing.
Oh, pickle jaw. Now you just said that we just found the bad dad pickle jaw.
Well, yes, it's not like I said, these are unsolved mysteries. I don't actually know the answer.
I know the answer. It's just some lazy stuff and people are trying to make it into a freaking car battery.
More than likely, yes, people are trying to make it into a car
You know,
battery.
what's gonna happen is years into the future, someone's gonna find like one of my old toys and go, "This was a symbol of their god." It was a clearly they believed in dragons, and they're holding up one of my Godzilla toys, and it's like, yeah, the god was a fearsome looking god.
Yeah, okay, so there might be more to that than you would think. And we might get into that because, funny enough, for the four mysteries I was thinking about, there was one other I almost put in here, but I wanted to save that for reasons I will explain in the future. But you might have more of a point to that than is. But yeah, but whatever it is, I doubt highly it's any type of battery. Again, this is something the ancient aliens like to do. And for those of us looking on YouTube, we'll see that the background of this slide is the famous Egyptian light bulb, which ancient alien people love to say that Egyptians have a light bulb. And this is the picture that they're referring to, which I guess if you didn't know what you were looking at and frankly didn't have any clue how a light bulb works, you could think this was a light bulb, but it's not. First of all, that's not a socket, that's a lotus
Isn't that a
flower.
snake in the inside too?
That is a snake. In fact, if you get a better resolution picture of this, you can clearly see the eyes and mouth of the snake.
With the
It's a
tongue.
snake, not a filament. Yes.
And isn't that like bass or something? Isn't that one of the gods holding up two knives on the right hand side? And isn't that
Yes.
Raw? Raw or whoever it was who sold
Atem.
the one who sailed his boat
Okay.
on the.
So this is part of the Egyptian creation. This is not a boat. This is actually part of the Egyptian creation myth that the original creator god of the Egyptians, whose name escapes me for the moment, I think it was Akham, something like that. But basically, uh, there was a vast sea of chaos, darkness, and from that sea rose a lotus flower, and that lotus flower bloomed, and from it came the first oxygen bubble, which is the bulb in this description, and in it was the original god, who in this case is represented by a serpent, and he then created all life. That's what this depicts. So it is not a light bulb. But that's my point, is that is not a light bulb, and the Baghdad battery, I doubt highly it is a battery. More than likely, it is some form of I think it is some form of preserving vessel. Whether for food or for scrolls, it was meant to preserve something, and I don't think it worked very well. But it was something mundane enough to where they didn't think it needed mentioning. That's the main point. And something niche enough to where not everyone bothered to really have them, and not something that was well known enough for everybody to make it exactly as it needed to be made.
Again, whenever these pop up, I can't help but imagine it's just some asshole who said, I'm going to do something really screwy, and I'm going to put these things around, and when people find them years into the future, they're going to think it's something important when really it's just a joke.
Well, unfortunately, that could also be the case because, like I said, this is an unsolved mystery, and we don't really know what it is. Zed, what do you think?
I mean, I'm pretty sure literally everything else except for the battery idea that we said was more plausible. And yes, that includes the alcohol.
Yeah, I figured. That's the thing. I can't actually discount the alcohol. This would be one of the stupidest ways to make it, but I can't discount it.
The fact that you have to do so many stupid steps to make alcohol, especially back then.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me that someone got the bright idea. Oh, let's try this and see if it makes alcohol faster or better or whatever.
Especially with copper being so valuable. They would probably think it can make the
I would
alcohol
like to point
taste
out,
better.
I think that copper oils or something is used in the distilling process of moonshine. So
I thought of moonshine. I thought that was brass.
I don't know if it is brass or not.
I will admit, when it comes to alcohol, I am not. My knowledge is lacking, for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I want to say I remember it being copper. Maybe
it could be copper. I don't know for sure. I genuinely don't know. But whatever. But yeah, that's the Baghdad battery. So yeah, that's more mundane, but interesting nonetheless. Now, this next one's going to be a bit more fun. And honestly, Zed, I want to apologize for the theories that Shadow R. Fox is going to make from this next mystery.
Zed had it right. Copper, it has been used in alcohol production for thousands of years.
Okay.
And specifically whiskey distillery. Whiskey
distilling, because you distill moonshine.
Is it used for moonshine, or they use
wine
for moonshine?
I want to say that because moonshine is distilled, I want to say that I have seen something. Yes, that. Ironically enough, I almost want to say it was through MythBusters, but I could also be wrong.
Okay, again, I legitimately don't know.
Yes, traditional moonshine almost always involve copper.
Okay.
All right, there you go. Good to know.
So like now the alcohol is becoming most plausible by the second.
Okay, not
it actually
by
is.
Not by this design. Come on.
I don't know if they're really stupid and they're trying their best to get something done.
Then why are they putting a big iron rod in the middle of it? Wouldn't it be better to make to plate the entire ceramic jar with copper then?
Again, we got hindsight. We know how it's supposed to be done. They don't know how it's supposed to be done.
Yeah, they don't know how it's supposed to be done. They probably didn't have good distilling practices then.
Okay, we spent exceedingly more time on this than I thought we would. All right. We're going to move on. And Zed, again, I'm going to apologize in advance for the theory Shadow R. Fox is going to make from this next
No,
mystery.
I already know the next one.
Yeah,
I've already researched this multiple times.
What?
Yeah, so, okay. This was an incident that happened August 7th, 1994 in Oakville, Washington, where for a 3-week period, about 6 times, it rained a gelatinous substance, tiny clear blobs of gelatinous goo, all about the size of a grain of rice. It rained down, and this is most of the stuff that it was looked like. And go ahead and switch slides. And From this, people thought it was strange, but oddly enough, it did cause a few residents and pets to get severe flu-like symptoms and even vertigo. A kitten actually died from encountering this goo. Uh, so this is where things got a little weird. There was an initial test done on this goo, and the test claimed that there was the presence of white blood cells. Later on, this was refuted, and oddly enough, the organic material mysteriously disappeared. All the samples of this goo also mysteriously disappeared. Now, the reason for this, according to the claims, was actually because the goo tended to melt in the sunlight, so that there wasn't enough time to grab any of it, and that's what happened. But you would think they'd be able to grab some samples since this happened 6 times in a 3-week period. But yeah, so far. Questions, concerns, thoughts? Shadow R Fox, you said you'd looked at this before?
Yeah, no, I've heard this. I've actually heard this mystery multiple times. This is a big conspiracy theory.
Yeah, it's a huge one. Zed, from your reaction, I'm assuming you never heard of this.
Nope.
What do you think?
I mean, whenever things mysteriously disappear, the only thing I think of is some sort of military or chemical weapon test that wasn't supposed to get out and somehow did.
You're not the only one who thought
And,
that.
and yeah, that's the biggest conspiracy.
Like that's
theory.
literally the only thought I have of this. Is I'm like, okay, well, if everything has disappeared, then clearly no one wanted anyone to know about it, and I highly doubt it was just to stop public panic.
Yeah, so as you said, that has been the question. People have suggested military testing. They've especially suggested that the military was bombing in the ocean nearby, and they blew up hordes of jellyfish whose genetic material and biological organic material got stuck in the atmosphere and rained down on this small town. 6 times. Which, okay, I guess not impossible, though seems a little much.
It would have by that logic, because yeah, I remember them saying it was jellyfish, and the reason I never listened to that one was because they were always isolated to this town in Washington. It was
Yes.
never across multiple areas where it also rained. It was always just there.
Yes, and there's also been the thought of a type of water-absorbing materials, especially the type that are found in diapers, sodium polychloride. Now, I want to put a pause on this because we'll circle back to it, but go ahead and switch slides. So, funny thing about this, the big question is, what the hell is this? Because believe it or not, this did happen again in 2025 in Rochester, Washington. However, in this case, there were no sicknesses. Again, it melted away in the sunlight. And it actually occurred again, reported in Bournemouth, UK in 2012. However, those were actually tested and proven to be swollen sodium polychloride. Now,
Okay, so it was sodium polyacrylate, so it was the stuff that is.
Here's the question though. Here's the problem. Sodium polychloride is not toxic. That's why it's used in diapers.
Okay, this is on a separate note. Are you ever going to say that word correctly?
No.
Okay.
How do you say it?
Polyacrylate.
Polyacrylate. That's as close you're going to get.
That's fine. It's just you pronounce it differently, like 2 or 3 different ways.
And I will probably continue to do so. But sodium polyacrylate is non-toxic. So it unless these people ate it, and the kitten ate a large amount, it's almost impossible that this was the stuff that caused sickness. And also, they would have recognized it. And the few tests that they did have before the stuff melted away and degraded, while the white blood cell claim was disputed and its samples lost, they did later confirm or slightly confirm that it was an organic material. So a biological material, which led some people to believe that there was possible amphibian activity, which somehow got picked up by a storm and swept up into the atmosphere, causing it to rain this gelatinous goo from activian eggshells breeding or something. Which, okay, sounds weird, but believe it or not, it is not unprecedented, as it has actually occurred where a water spout or a typhoon touched into the sea and swept up a bunch of fish and then later rained the fish on a small town, which is actually where we got the inspiration for Sharknado. Those movies. But anyway, so again, the question is, what the hell is this? So looking at it, like this seems to be a form of cloud seeding. Now, cloud seeding basically works by dispersing tiny particles such as silver iodine or even dry ice into clouds to act as a nuclei, which is encouraging water droplets to gather, freeze, and fall as rain or snow. So basically, it's forcing them to actively collect and force the cloud to exert rain. Or I guess packing the cloud would be a good way to put it. Russians have famously done this multiple times. Sorry. And continue to do it today, which has caused instances of concrete rain. As many times in Russia, instead of silver iodide, they will put along with it ground up cement, and the cement in water will force it to bind faster and cause chunks of cement to form in clouds before the obviously heavier than air cement rains down on the poor unsuspecting people below. But Russia doesn't really care about it that much. I can't imagine why. So the question is, what the heck was this? Shadow R Fox, Zed, thoughts?
So the problem I've had when I was looking at this, and I looked at some of these other cases, is because with these other cases, it doesn't seem to be like there's similarities, but not completely the same. Like there's the lack of sickness that occurred with the Washington situation. And I think the lack of sickness occurred for the majority of these, actually.
The sickness only occurred with the first incident.
Yes. And it's the first incident that got people scratching their head the most. It's not a lot of these other ones, people can kind of rationale it, or there's not a sickness behind it. So more
They
than
can give a
likely,
more plausible explanation than this one.
yes. But the
Not a
sickness,
very plausible explanation, but an explanation.
but the sickness in this one is what throws everyone off, and that's the big thing that made a lot of people think it was government testing, was because people got sick, an actual kitten died from eating it.
Poor thing.
But the thing that it made people sick and nauseous, and I believe in some of the worst cases it made them vertigo. I think it gave them vertigo, if memory serves correctly.
Vertigo and severe flu-like symptoms.
Yes, and that's highly specific. That like those are some very unique symptoms for people to mysteriously get across a town as soon as this phenomenon happened. And then,
Yeah,
if I
and
recall correctly, it cleared up immediately after it all dissolved away.
yes, and remember, this happened 6 times.
Yes, and
And,
all localized in this area, not across multiple towns.
correct. And
Which
switch slides real quick, as I remember correctly. Okay, so yeah, I was thinking specifically about the sickness because the flu-like symptoms are very telling. And I have to also state that the people who claim to get these stated specifically they did not eat the stuff, but came into heavy contact with it as it was raining. Now, whether or not that's true, hard to say. But looking at what can cause this type of sickness, we've got a few things. For instance, poison oak, ivy, or sumac, or shore oil. Touching the oils of these plants can cause contact dermatitis, while the primary symptom is a bittering rash. Many people do experience systematic flu-like symptoms as their body tries to mount an immune response to it. Heavy metals like lead can cause this type of toxicity. Prolonged or high level skin contact to lead and other can cause symptoms that mimic the flu, along with neurological and gastrointestinal distress. However, heavy metals means long time exposure, and considering that they got this after one touching,
immediate.
that seems
Yeah.
very, very unlikely. Heavy metals, I would say, is out, but I put that there to be thorough. Then, of course, there's solvents or pesticides, touching or absorbing toxic agricultural and industrial chemicals such as certain organophosphates or heavy duty solvents can lead to poisoning with flu like symptoms, including severe fatigue, nausea, weakness, muscle weakness, and fever. So solvents and some of the poison oaks seem to be some of the things that could, since they are actually toxic, unlike the baby diaper material. But again, the question's exactly how. Because whatever this material was, it had to get into the atmosphere, get into the clouds, bind in the clouds that were over it until it got enough to where it rained these globulous molecules, which means they had to be put there by some means, either man made or nature made. And the fact that this only happened in one area still means that it had to have some source that it eventually rose from to get there in the first place.
It should also be noted that the sixth time, if I recall, the sixth time it happened was all within like a very short span of time.
3 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah, it was within a 3-week period.
That's why people often think it was government testing with some type of solvent, pesticide, or some type of new cloud seed agent because of how it was localized to a specific region for a very short period of time, and it happened consistently multiple times throughout that period.
Yes. And it's not impossible. Like I said, we do not know. I am just stating the facts are that there had to be some source, which again, they claim it was an organic source, but we don't know that for sure because the evidence literally melted away. But whatever material had to get into the atmosphere somehow, get into the clouds, bond and absorb water molecules in the clouds until they became heavy enough to rain down on this town. Those are the facts. That is absolute. What we don't know exactly is the process by which that happened. So, yeah. What do you think, Zed? More interesting?
Hmm.
And I gotta admit, Shadow R Fox, I thought you'd have a lot of jokes for Goo falling out of the world.
No, I've actually have thought about this a whole lot.
Okay, so I
Because
just needed one that you actually were interested in. Okay, good to know.
well, I'm kind of like already. I mean, yeah, the goof falling from the joke. Yeah, and it's organic, and yeah, no, I've heard. It's because I've heard this multiple times. This
I
is
don't
like a
know.
very, very popular conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat, man in black, the government's out to get you type theory. Like this has been, I've heard so many conspiracy theorists hop on this one before. So
Right?
I mean, this is the one I'm most likely to believe that there was some government interference going on.
Yeah, I can believe that.
Because it's very hyper specific for this to be a organic, natural occurring thing.
I don't have a problem believing the government interference. My question is, what exactly were they trying to do?
A new Cloud Sea agent.
Why?
Just because this happened in Washington, it would make sense for it to rain in Washington, and it would make
Yes.
sense for them to try it in Washington in a state where it raining more often in the course of 3 weeks is a natural occurrence. It's just strange weather. So this is something you could compared to if they did this in like Arizona or Nevada. This would look hyper. This would draw everyone's attention in seconds. The fact that this happened in Washington, it drew hardly any. I think when this happened, it didn't even make not global, the national news. I think it was all just state news, if
Well,
memory
no,
serves correctly.
this is an actual story. Of course, the media is not going to touch it. It's not going to drive anybody crazy or get someone to shoot someone else.
Like I don't think it made past now. Well, this is even before. This was back during 1994. This was
I
even before.
stand by my statement.
I know, but there wasn't that bad as it was back then.
I stand by my statement.
I know, but you gotta admit, compared to how it is now, compared to back then, this type of stuff, if it really was that monumental, like if it had happened in Arizona or Utah or some type of New Mexico, this would have made national news.
I'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
Raining in the desert and it's goo.
You're asking me to give the media benefit of the doubt. I won't. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah,
I get what you're look. I get
like
what you're
here's the
saying.
thing: they blew up a whale that made national news at one time.
Yeah, there was outrage from PETA to be made about it.
Again, someone would have brought the fact that it rained goo in a place where it typically rained. It does make sense. Okay, like again, I can see where the conspiracy theorists come from.
No, I can
saying
see
it
where
was
conspiracy theory comes from, but like that's the thing is like cloud seeding in itself. Like you see, here's the thing about cloud seeding: you need clouds,
Yeah,
and that's kind of
Washington
been
would have
always the
been the ideal place to have
yeah.
the
No,
clouds to
Washington
do it.
would be the ideal place, but that's what I'm saying is like the reason people have talked about making it rain in deserts. The problem with raining in deserts is there's no clouds.
Yeah.
Like that's the big issue. So cloud seeding itself, especially experimenting in the 1990s, is rather pointless, especially for the US government. That's my point. So that's where this gets a little askew.
Now,
Again, I could
the
see
worst
it
case
being
was
a government
it could
testing.
be a new bioweapon.
Yeah, theoretically, yeah, I was thinking about that too. And like I can't go across that because trying out a bioweapon where they give a less damaging one where it only causes flu-like symptoms, yeah, I could totally buy our government doing that.
Yeah, because they've done
100%.
it before,
They
which
have
has
done it
actually
before.
been documented. Like
Yes,
this
they've
isn't
done it
even
before.
yeah, this isn't even conspiracy theory. We know for a fact it's happened before, and this is the most benign type of. I could easily see if you tell me the U.S. government had a weapon that caused it to rain and make people have flu-like symptoms. I'm like, oh, that sounds pretty humane by U.S. standards. I'm surprised it don't rain and it make their brain bleed out of their eyes or something like that.
Yeah. So okay, that's my biggest issue with that is the 6 times. So that's the thing.
Repetition.
Like I said, with cloud sitting, it has to be injected into the atmosphere, right? And when it gets too heavy, it falls, which means it would need to keep doing it. And after one time of having, let's say it was a military testing, wouldn't you think after one time of having it, they'd kind of say, okay, we better not do this. We're going to get caught. Instead, they do it 6 more times.
Actually, I can't believe they would do that.
I actually can believe that very easily.
If they were told run this experiment multiple times, I can see them doing this
Yes,
stupid.
but not even moving to another area.
Yes.
We want to keep consistent testing.
I don't know. That's like okay. Granted, yes, our people could be stupid enough to do that, but
Could be that I know for a fact they are.
Pretty dumb even for them. And
I'm gonna also say we burnt down one of our own military bases testing out the bat bomb.
Well, again, that was once, but to be fair, we also lost a nuclear bomb over our own country, so that
several
doesn't help
times.
either. Yeah.
And that's not counting the ones we lost in Europe.
Yeah.
Okay, so you really want to go down this road that the U.S. government could do this?
I'm not defending it completely. I'm just like, again, it's a strange case, especially considering it's organic.
I could see them doing this 6th time when considering if you're claiming right and it never even made national news. I could see them doing this 6 times because it's like, well, they didn't catch on the first time. Let's do it let's see how many times we can do it before we get on. And I bet you the sickness started to occur around the 4th, 5th, or 6th time.
No, I think actually it started happening the first time.
Did just more of them get sick around the 6th time, or?
Yeah, no, more. They knew not to touch it after that. The first time was the worst because people didn't know not to touch the crap. Because people saw stuff and they're like, "Ooh, gotta touch."
Well, that
Which,
makes sense.
to be fair, I might do the same. Like, I won't
I was about to say you don't really get to talk in that scenario.
Yeah.
No, I would like we all know I would touch. We're not even gonna pretend.
Okay, so the 6th time, in a sense, would make sense of first time is to see natural reaction, second time to see, will people still touch it? Third time to see, okay, now they're taking precaution around it. How well can it still affect people? The fourth, fifth, and sixth time now that they're taking proper precaution against it. So effectiveness as people discover capabilities of it would be my justification for running multiple tests in the same region.
Yeah, it again,
It
not
would be
unheard of.
a psychological to see how people react to it multiple times.
Yeah, not unheard of. Though then we've got the case in Rochester and how exactly diaper stuff got in England, which has never really been answered either.
Again, my only other excuse that I thought was more plausible was that it's some type of it's some type of waste from like solvent, pesticide, some type of waste from a chemical plant or something like that. But I don't know what chemical plant was in the region, and I never took the time to look up what chemical plants could be in the region that could have caused that.
Yeah, didn't either. But if it was from a chemical plant, you'd actually think it'd be more toxic.
Not necessarily.
No, not necessarily, but again, like it's a very strange.
It could be a company doing improper dumping procedure, improper burning procedure, and they do this for a very small selective group of products or items, and it get burnt, it goes up into the sky, it eventually come down as a goo-like rain. It happened for about 6 times throughout 3 weeks because that's how long it took them to burn through wherever that material was, and then it mysteriously stopped because they ran out of that material.
Yeah, no, that's also possible. I mean, that we've had instances like that where it's rained black rain because of ash. I mean, that's actually what acid rain is. Various pollutants into the atmosphere until it rains out and getting stuck. So there are various ways it can be done. It's just we don't know that the only problem is we don't know exactly what the material was. That's the biggest mystery. Because if we knew how the material what the material was exactly, we'd have a better idea of how the heck it got up into the atmosphere in the first place. And if it actually possessed human white blood cells as the initial test came about, well, that leads to a bunch of questions.
That lead to a very famous song.
What song?
It's Raining Man.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know where you were going with that.
I did not know where
Hallelujah.
you were going with
Yeah, hallelujah. It's raining.
but yeah, that is the mystery of the bloody goo. Which not bloody as in the color, but just stupid goo. I actually decided to put the cartoon version of the cuss word because I figure if I put bloody goo on the slide, people be looking and going, wait, was it raining blood at one time? Like, no, it wasn't blood. Relax, everybody. Okay, and that's our third mystery. So we've got one more. Any final thoughts?
Nope.
Yeah. Zed? All right. Let's get going. So this one is also interesting. It may be the origin of Dance Till You Drop.
Oh, is this the dancing mania that swept people and they kept dancing until they died?
That is correct.
Okay.
This is a mystery that nobody actually has an answer to. So go ahead and switch slides. This one was pretty basic. This was the dancing disease of 1518, or the dancing plague, whatever. Basically, the story goes that a woman named Frau Troffe, to be fair, that could have been Frau Troffe, but whatever. Woman in Strasbourg began dancing in the street uncontrollably for 6 days and nights without music, food, or rest. Within a week, 30 other people had joined her, and in August, over 400 people were affected and all dancing uncontrollably as if possessed by some unforeseen mania. Governments at the time believed it needed to be danced out, so basically they hired musicians to play music for them while they danced and even built stages so they can dance on it. This shockingly did not make things better, but made it worse, which Yeah, that's what I expect the government to do. Several people died of heart attacks, strokes, and most commonly severe exhaustion, dancing until their feet literally bled and they dropped down dead, basically incapable of stopping themselves. Any questions?
What's the mystery?
All right, go ahead and switch slides. The mystery is why. The causes is the mystery. So the facts are this: the dancing epidemic of 1518. Now, this lasted from July to September. Now, it is uncertain if there were actual deaths because this event was recorded after the fact. So it was recorded from eyewitness testimony, stuff like that. But it was recorded after the actual event. The main source of this is a book by John Waller. The book, A Time to Dance, A Time to Die, The Extraordinary Story of the Dancing Plague of 1518. He wanted to make very sure what we all knew. So, anyway, as I said, Lynn from Raider accounts, and most of it's up for debate. Of the accounts, 4 accounts claim that it was the woman Fairtrafe who was the first dancer. Others say no, but the majority of accounts said it was her that started it. So that's what we know for sure, if this actually happened at all, I guess.
Now, I also heard that it spread to multiple towns as well.
Yes. So that then leads us to what are the causes? Now, the ones that have been put forth or suggested is food poisoning or a fungal infection. But the most common thought is mass hysteria or mass psychogenic illness. God, I can't talk today. Mass psychogenic illness. So basically, while it sounds ridiculous, mass hysteria is a very real thing, and it can be pretty bad. It is the ultimate form of you think, therefore you are. If you see someone with symptoms, you don't know what they are, and you start to panic, you can panic enough to the point where you believe you have symptoms, and your body can actually physically manifest symptoms for something you do not have. It's happened in various ways. I mean, one of the most, I'm not sure if this is the most common, but one common one is that some women who believe that they're pregnant will believe it so much that they will actually begin to show physical symptoms of pregnancy, even so far as lactating, even though they're not pregnant. So the mind is a powerful thing. So mass hysteria is, again, the most common explanation, but nobody knows for sure. And nobody knows why this actually started or why suddenly, if it was mass hysteria, everybody who saw a dancing woman not stop suddenly felt that they all needed to dance too. And Zed, you actually had heard about this, so what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, just like when I first heard of it, I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
because literally I just heard of it in a YouTube video. Someone brought up and was like, "Yes, this is an actual thing that happened," and I'm like, "Okay, of course it is."
Tell me about it.
As for what caused it, you got me, because the dumb part of my brain wants to go, "Oh, look, we found a case of a witch."
Well, we know how Shadow R. Fox feels about witches.
As
Yes.
much as I would love to don the witch hunter general outfit, I have a different theory.
By all means, because I got nothing.
They all came down with a case of boogie fever.
Okay, you know what? The sad thing is that makes more sense than anything else at this point.
Tell me about it.
They just had to dance. They heard the best song and they just had to get down, throw down.
No, they danced originally without music. Ha!
It was
Music
a song
was
in their
introduced
head.
later by the government. The government later introduced music later because they thought it would help.
It was a song in their head.
I guess that, it was like that guy who went crazy from one note, which I'm not sure if it's an actual thing. That's just a famous line from Seinfeld. Because I'm not bothering to look that up. Yeah.
I've heard a lot of theories about this one. One was that the first woman was the woman you cited, like people claim that she was just clinically insane, and one of her psychotic breaks was just having a dance and just dancing until, because I don't think she died from the dancing, but I do think she was one of the people who passed out from it, if I remember so correctly.
I'm not sure if she died. The records are unclear.
Yeah. I don't recall she died from it because they would have made a big deal about it if she did. But being
Yeah,
the first person.
I genuinely don't know. Like,
But
I'm not.
like yeah, like some of the theories that I heard that makes the most sense is that she was she was just someone who had like some type of psychotic break and just started dancing, because when we've seen people crack up before, they do some strange things.
Yeah.
And
I mean, if you ever met someone with schizophrenia, if they're off their medicine, they can do some weird things.
exactly. And then what happened is her dancing for a random person in 1518, that would have been a really sucky time period with nothing eventful happening. And just seeing someone randomly dance, you may want to join in just to break the monotonous of repetition. And it just had a domino effect of other people wanting to join in, and eventually it probably worked itself to a point that some people wanted to keep going no matter what, including if they died or got hurt from it.
Yeah, but 400?
Yeah. Have you
I don't
ever
know.
seen this is like the teenage takeover.
Yeah, but when gunshots are flung out, they usually scatter.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
I mean, that's not a great example, but like, yeah, people like to follow. They can do something stupid, but to dance until they drop is pretty extreme.
You look at some of the riots and teen takeover and stupid stuff we have going on nowadays, and this looked pretty tame.
I really wish I could disagree with you.
You can't. You really can't. This
I
is
really
this
can't.
this is literally just some type of like this. We're just witnessing an ancient time, essentially teen takeover. This was the first rave, the first dance party.
Ugh, if anything, it's like a rave combined with Woodstock.
Yeah. How many people probably OD'd at one of these concerts?
How many people still OD at concerts? I mean,
Exactly, and yet they still stay and keep on playing and keep on enjoying the music.
yeah, I mean, it's like Burning Man. How many people OD at Burning Man?
Exactly. So I think this legit could just be it started off as something completely kind of mundane, like she went crazy or something and started dancing, and it just became in fitness, and everyone joined in, and then when they played music, it just made it worse.
I guess I could see that, though. And I think people would stop before they died of a freaking heart
No,
attack.
they
But
wouldn't.
then
That's
again,
stupid. People are really,
yeah,
really. You
then
have to
again,
assume that people are lemmings. That they're just one step away from walking off a cliff every 5 seconds, unless you tell them not to.
the
And
sad thing is,
once you believe that, and you look at these types of situations, you're like, oh yeah, this makes sense. They're just stupid.
true, especially if there were girls involved, guys will literally dance until their hearts burst.
Yes. And here's another best example. We've seen this happen modern day dance competitions.
Yeah, but
During the
they're fighting.
1950s, 60s, 70s, they used to hold dance competition where the last person dancing were especially during the I think Great Depression, they did this to earn money, and the last person
But
still
that's the
dancing
point. There was a reward. There was no reward for this.
that we know of.
I doubt highly there was a reward since the government said, let's just keep playing until they stop. I mean, if they'd offer a reward of money, they probably would have taken it if they were doing it for some form of reward.
We don't well, we
But
don't know.
again, we also have to remember that the accounts aren't clear.
Yeah.
Like, for it's kind of like the Pied Piper of Hamelin. Something happened, but we don't know exactly what happened. Which we may go over the story of the Pied Piper of Hamelin one
Didn't
day.
we go over that one day?
Did we go over? I don't think. I think we mentioned it. I don't think we did. We go over it in detail.
I think
I don't
I
remember.
vaguely recall
I
discussing how
recall
the
mention it. I don't know if
unless
we went
I'm
into.
just recalling a documentary I saw where it went over how how there was multiple theories for the Pied Piper, whether
No,
he
we've
was
definitely talked about it. I just did.
a
We talked
real
about it on the
individual
video.
or whether he was a amalgamation of a bunch of like plagues and stuff that took children away, and he was just an analogy for it. That may have just been a documentary I saw that I'm referring to.
Well, no, I believe that we have actually talked about it, but I don't remember if we talked about it while on a actual podcast.
Yeah, I don't
We
remember
might
either.
have. Like we've done so many of how what will this even be? Like we're in the 40s now, aren't we?
Possibly. I
No.
usually let me look at my notepad. Like 40, 41.
Okay, okay, just in the 40s now. It's like, wow, we've done 40 of these.
Yeah.
And as always, it takes longer than I thought. I thought this would be rather quick.
Oh no.
I should know better.
Yeah,
Um,
I've stopped listening to you whenever you say that. Just so you know,
yeah, you're probably right too.
you say quick, and I'm like, cool. We're gonna be here for 90 minutes.
Yeah, probably. But so that's the dancing plague. While there's plenty of theories, nobody fully knows. And honestly, I guess
Oh.
in reality, we're not even completely sure it actually happened since it's all coming from secondhand accounts.
42. This is episode 42.
Nice. But it's interesting nonetheless.
Oh, we found the secrets of the universe.
Ha! Nice.
Oh.
Oh, the secret to the universe, and our episode to the secret to the universe is unknown facts. I couldn't have planned that. That's absolutely
You couldn't
hysterical.
have planned
I
that
could
better.
not have planned that better.
Yeah,
Damn.
because the Odyssey was 41.
Wow, damn. Maybe there is. Maybe 42 does have something about being the answer. Okay, we've got it. The answer to all of our mysteries in this is 42.
So, as always, the answer to life and everything is Shadow Fox is right. So, dinosaurs
How
are
were you
real.
right?
Godzilla will be in the future, 2077. The Baghdad Battery is just the Baghdad Hoofer / alcohol container.
It was
The
not
the
used
glob
for that.
the globs are not jellyfish. It's the government's testing weapons on you again. Get used
That's
to it.
possible.
And this was just boogie fever.
Okay, I don't. We don't know it was boogie fever, but we don't actually know if it even happened. So for all we know, this is just a fanciful story. But something inspired it. Who knows? Maybe it was the first dance competition and they blew it out of proportion. Actually, I could see that. The king sets up a dance competition for like a huge prize. A bunch of people dance until they literally drop. Someone later writes it as some dancing fever. Actually, that's actually fairly plausible.
Yeah, and they blame it on a fever so the king doesn't lose face.
Yeah, I could actually see that. Now that
Yeah.
actually makes a lot of sense. I mean, with the dancing and musicians and everything, like, maybe that's the real answer.
Yeah.
Wow, we might have solved this one.
Yeah. Boogie fever.
I'm
like I
taking
said.
credit for that. You're not getting it for Boogie Fever. I'm putting
Boogie-
stance contest.
Boogie fever. Well, I originally said it was a dance competition, and you said, "What's the
No,
prize?"
you used dance competition as an example for your people just wanted to dance.
Yeah, and I said people
Yeah,
often
no, you don't get that. You were
don't
literally
want
trying
to give it
use
to me,
it as an
despite the fact I
example.
brought it up earlier.
No, I admit you brought it up earlier, but you were literally bringing it up to prove your original theory of people just wanted to dance.
Oh no, I was bringing it up so I said people could dance themselves into injury and death because they used to do it back in the modern day sense of 1920s,
Exactly, that's not the
20s,
same
30s,
thing.
40s, 50s, 60s, 70s.
That's not
And
the
then
same
you
thing.
said, but they have rewards. And I'm like, well, yeah.
That's my point. You
For
never
all we
mentioned
could have
reward.
known, they could have had a reward.
But
And then
they
you were like,
didn't in the
what? They didn't
story.
record it. And I'm like, well, I don't know.
No, I didn't say they didn't record. They didn't in the original story. But you never mentioned they originally could have had one. You know what? These are unsolved. Let's leave them unsolved.
Boogie fever. Simple
You know
enough.
what? It's as good of an explanation as any. Let's just give it boogie fever.
I mean, I could take it a step further, and I think Elvis didn't die. He went back in time. He came to this time period, and he started singing. The women started to dance, as women do with Elvis, and suddenly we had 400 people singing and dancing, and eventually, they had Elvis executed so that way they could stop dancing. But, they had to cover all of this up.
Sure, why not? Blame it on Elvis. Nothing but a hound dog.
I mean,
Okay, and with that fun, we're actually going to pass it off to Zed now. Zed, I normally let you decide who's that monster Pokemon's going to be, but I'm afraid I had to overrule you, and you'll understand
Oh,
why.
because I was about to say, you didn't prep me for this.
No, I did not. Sorry, I had to overrule you.
You didn't tell me there was a test? What the fuck?
I had to overrule you because, frankly, there was only one choice for this. Shadow R Fox, go ahead and switch slides.
Oh, hi, Unknown. Yeah, that makes sense.
Come on. What else could I have done?
well,
No,
actually,
that
we
makes
could have did
sense.
one for each one. You could have did a T-Rex Pokemon for the T-Rex one. You could have did for the Barry. You could have did like Rotom or something like that.
Unsolved mysteries, just like
For the Goo, you could have did
unknown.
Cast Form. And then for the dance one, Ludicolo.
Jinx.
Okay,
No, Jinx.
Shadow R Fox, it's a clever pun. Can you let me have my pun?
No, there's actual Pokemon that evolve to each one of these mysteries.
There actually is.
Yes, but the pun is the episode.
I mean,
The pun is
I
the
get it, but
episode. Like, come on, I even went through the trouble of getting the who's that Pokemon background and everything.
no, that's fair.
And
I want to
soon,
point out, Shadow R Fox normally does this. I did this time, and I got it. I even found a picture with multiple unknown with the white to fit it in so it looked like it was part of the original image.
soon we'll have to do who's that pal.
Oh God, no! You can do that segment. I do not know enough about them.
Okay, Zed, you're up.
What do you want me to do?
Talk about the unknown and distract.
They're Pokemon that look like letters of the alphabet, an exclamation mark, and a question mark. There you go.
Really? That's all there is on them?
That's literally it. They appear in mysterious ruins in the game, and as far as I'm aware, there's not an explanation for why they look like that. Other than just, Pokemon wanted to make some way of having a clever language
I thought they just
while
did it for
still
the
being
movie.
English. Which is dumb because the game has a made-up language in it.
I thought they just did it for the movie, to be honest.
They could have done that too. I don't know. The funny thing is that they made the alphabet first, and then at a later point added the exclamation mark and question mark.
Yeah, makes sense.
So they decided to expand upon these things after they had already existed, which kind of interesting. The other thing is now I believe they are the only Pokemon to naturally learn the move Hidden Power, which is just a move that changes type randomly depending on each Pokemon. Each individual one has a unique hidden power that you won't know until you use the move.
I have no
And that's
idea.
about all I can say on it.
I have no idea what any of that means. I mean, cool though. I just remember him from the third Pokemon movie.
Yeah.
That was the one where they created the Entei, right?
Yes,
I don't know.
believe so. Because the second one I think was Lugia, and I think it was Lugia. Mewtwo was the first one. Lugia was the second one. And
I thought
Entei-
Mewtwo and then Mewtwo Returns happened and then the movie 2000.
Maybe.
I didn't think that Mewtwo Returns
Okay,
happened.
I remember the
much
first.
after.
I remember the first one with Pokemon, the first movie. Then I remember 2000, and then I thought the third one was the Entei movie. But that's the ones I saw. After
yeah, that's
that,
what I remember.
my
I
Because
have to
brother
look up the
disappeared.
Pokemon movie timeline now, don't I?
Because I remember the first one was the one with Mewtwo. Because that was the biggest one. It was the first Pokemon movie. I even got the original Mew
Movie
card
is in
that they
order.
gave out at the movie theaters to the people who showed up to it. So I do remember the Mewtwo one was the first
Okay,
one.
no, you're right. Where was the Mewtwo Returns movie then? Because I
I
know
think
it
that
exists.
came later on. Like,
I
wasn't
know
that
it
like
came later on, but when did it come later on? Because it's not even part of this list.
I think Mewtwo came like that was way later on, I believe, because
I believe so.
I remember
but
I
again,
never saw it.
again, like I kind of didn't care
Okay,
about the movies after the third one.
Because I know I saw one where Mewtwo came back.
I remember seeing that one though, and then I think that was actually one of the last Pokemon movies I saw was Mewtwo Returns. Because I know he had other ones, but I did not care to watch
Like
them.
the last one I saw was Latios and Latias one.
Was that the red and blue ones?
I believe
Yes.
so. Yes.
Yeah, I didn't see it. I just know what they look like.
Yeah, and after that I stopped keeping track because I know like one movie was like Celebi, where it was I think
Is that the one that could talk?
no, that was maybe
No.
that was the one that could grant you wishes.
I don't recall
Yeah.
Celebi being able to talk.
I don't know. Like I said,
No,
I
sorry,
saw.
not wishes. Time travel shenanigan.
No, I saw commercials for some of the other Pokemon movies, but I didn't watch them. But I remember some of the commercials. I think I caught my brother watching them a few times. I may have seen a few minutes of them, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
I like how this was supposed to be a short episode, and this is one
Yeah.
of our longest episodes to date.
I've got to
Again.
stop doing that.
Again, I've stopped. Anytime y'all say it's supposed to be quick, I
didn't
ignore
say
it.
I didn't say it.
I thought it would be quick. I didn't know we were going to go into entire peripherals about alcoholism and other nonsense.
Well, you should start expecting
You
it.
said a mystery. Of course, I'm going to try everything I can think of to solve the mystery.
Yes, but I thought you'd be a bit more sensible about it. That's my
That
mistake.
was sensible.
That was your mistake.
I could went to a whole different part with what those batteries could be useful.
Yes, I figured, but I didn't think it would take so long for it. You did! You called them vibrators!
Yeah, I could have went a whole nother step further.
How do you go? Nope, don't ask that question.
I was gonna say, do you want to ask that question?
I'm
do you
sorry.
really want to ask that question?
We're gonna
I'm
be here
sorry.
we're gonna be here for 2 hours at that point. If
End it,
I'm
move
sorry.
on.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Are you though?
Yeah, mildly.
Because you don't want to know what I think they could, like me going off the rails, think they could be useful.
Okay, so with that, Zed, do you have anything else to mention about the unknown?
No, I have nothing else to mention about the unknown.
Okay, well, then I think it's a good place to stop as we went over our 4 mysteries, and I hope for those watching that you enjoyed this episode. This might be an interesting premise to look into the future, where I might be doing monsters that I've looked into, but don't have a good explanation to. And I promise I'm not going to, if I do that again, I'm not going to do 7 of them like I did with our yokai episode that went way too long. I learned my lesson. I'll only do like 3 monsters if I do that again. Promise.
I don't believe you for half a second.
I promise I will only do 3 monsters. You have my
Yeah,
word.
we'll still be here for 2.5 hours.
We probably will, but it won't be more than that because I promise I will only do 3 monsters. Like I won't do 7 like I did with the yokai.
Warning right now, if you come with 4.
Yeah, I will do 3. I promise. Scout's honor. Yes, I was a scout. I wasn't a good scout, but I was a scout. All right, and with that, thank you for watching this special Unsolved Mysteries edition of Mythical Monster Investigations. We will hope to see you next time. Until then, have a good one.
See ya.